Hi, this is a different type of video today. I've been asked in recent days on Twitter, what kind of mileage do you get in the 40 kilowatts e-NV200? Now, it's a question that I could answer on Twitter, but it's quite difficult to do so in the limit of 160 letters. So here we are today, about to embark on a definitive video detailing what miles per kilowatt we get under different circumstances. Now listen, it's not going to be a professionally edited video. We're not going to be having different camera angles. I'm on my phone right now. The family's about to get in the car. We're off to my parents. It's Father's Day. And there may be other parts of the video that we do on other days. But what I'm going to do is every conceivable different form of driving we're going to do, and we're going to put it together in this video. So to answer the question of anybody wondering what the mileage you can get out of the 40 kilowatt e-NV, this is going to be the go-to reference for that. Anyway, what affects the mileage that you get out of a fully charged battery? Well, there are many factors. The key factor in all of this is speed. Put very simply, the quicker you go, the fewer miles that you're going to get out of your battery. The next part is how carefully do you drive? Now, if you're flooring it all the time, banging that accelerator to the floor, then of course your economy is going to take a nosedive. The second biggest factor is heating and cooling. Now, using the air conditioner in the car, which we do quite often, it does use electricity, but it is pretty efficient. So the effect on mileage is fairly negligible. It does eat up some miles, but you know, for the sake of comfort in the car, it's worth having it on, because we're not affecting the mileage too much. But the flip side of that is heating. Now, heating is very different in the e-NV200. In some other brands of EV, they produce their heat using a heat pump. Now, that's basically the air conditioning system operating in a reverse process, whereby it's producing heat. It's the most efficient version of electric heating. Now, the question is, does the e-NV200 have a heat pump? Well, the answer is no, unfortunately it doesn't. There are people out there on Twitter that know more about the original e-NV200, the 24 kilowatt, and they tell me that both the 24 kilowatt and the 40 kilowatt produces heat using ceramic discs. Now, this really does use a lot of electricity. We have LeafSpy. It's a toy that we use whereby we can connect to the car's computer and we can bring up, it shows us exactly what processes are using what electricity. I'm not going to overcomplicate this video, but I can tell you now that the ceramic heating discs use anything up to 4 kilowatts of power just to heat the car. Now, that is a lot of energy, and it does really affect the miles per kilowatt that you get out of this car. Other considerations to think about, well, yeah, there are other things, wind for instance, and some 24 kilowatt e-NV owners have the Windy app. It's an app that shows the direction of the wind, the speed of the wind. We're not going to get into that, but that does make a difference. If you're on the motorway and you are fighting against the wind, it will drop your miles per kilowatt. Conversely, if you go in the opposite direction and the wind is behind you, you'll improve your economy because you're literally being pushed along. But anyway, without further ado, it's now time to get on with the experience. The family will be getting in the car soon. I will, at the beginning of the experiment, we'll put details at the bottom, what we're doing, how we're doing it, and yeah, let's get on with it. Right, experiment number one, we are going to be driving with the eco button off, so just driving with the car at full power, not restricted by the eco button. We are going to do something a bit bizarre today. We're going to have the heating on. It's 15 degrees outside, so we don't need the heat, but I want to show what effect that heating, how that really does drop the miles per kilowatt. I'm going to drive it normally. We are going to be doing, we're going to do 3 miles exactly, 30 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour, depending on where we are in the town. So this is urban driving, eco off, heat on, no considerations to driving economically, just driving normally. And we'll see where we get to when we're at the 3 mile mark. We'll come back. I'll put here, I've just reset the trip counter and the energy economics screen. So yeah, let's see where we're at in 3 miles. Right, so we're about to set off. The heating is on max. what we're doing.
Awesome.
It's boiling outside. It's not really, it's only 15, but it's going to get very warm in the car pretty quickly. But I just want to show that this 4 kilowatts of energy, it will drop down. We're not going to show you that, but the 4 kilowatts right now is heating up those ceramic discs. It will probably drop to about 2.5 kilowatts as they heat up, because obviously once they're hot, then that's it. They've done the job, and then just need to sort of maintain that heat. But anyway, so heat is on. Just showing that with my small camera. About to set off. There we go. You can hold that, you can turn it off. Right, we're driving. And like I said, this is normal driving, so you're not going to be able to see the road, but the speed limit's around here 20 miles an hour. There will be 30 miles an hour, some 40 miles an hour. Hopefully you can hear me over the sound of the fans, the heat. The one thing I'm going to say, and yes, this is going to be a long video and it's not going to be a ratings winner, I'm not trying to do that. Why is it in black and white, you're asking? It's because it's the only thing on my camera, the only filter that allows us both to be in shot. I don't want to chop off the wife's head, it would be most rude, of course. What I was trying to get to was that, yes, when I'm driving this car, for a living I taxi children to school mornings and afternoons, to and from the schools. And my primary concern is the safety of those children. So what's happening on the road is where my attention is. Now, if I'm going to be spending that time trying to consider how hard I'm pressing the accelerator, I'm not going to do it. I don't have the time to drive economically. So right now I'm driving this car. I've accelerated. You know, we're moving along, we're keeping up with the traffic in front. You can't see it, but we are. Coming up to a roundabout now, so I'm beginning to brake. I'm not going to leave a lot of this in, but what I'm getting to is that there's certain things that take priority in my day-to-day driving, and that's concentrating on the traffic around me, what's happening. Now, there's some people that are very good at multitasking. I'm not one of them. So if I'm going to be, it's true. So if I'm gonna be in the car by myself, driving like a pensioner on a Sunday, then yeah, perhaps I can be very careful. My economy will improve. Right now, average economy at we've done 0.7 miles. I've reset the odometer. We are at 1.5 miles per kilowatt. There are no tricks. I'm not going to try to trick anybody. This is not my job. I am simply, there are people out on Twitter, there are people on Facebook that Sharon's on, I'm not, that laugh at the mileage that we get and sort of mock. We've had this car now for exactly a year. Somebody zooming past, it proves I'm only doing 40. We've had this car for a year. We've done 13, almost 14,000 miles. So we have a lot of experience of this vehicle. Right now, 1.7 miles per kilowatt. The heat's on. It's using a lot of energy. We're getting warm. It's probably good that we're on black and white, because right now we're probably getting rosy cheeks. But yeah, it is what it is. You want to be warm in the winter, you've got to have the heating on. It's as simple as that. I can't have the kids in the car shivering. So that heating system will eat into your economy. I'm keeping up with a car in front, some elderly grey-haired gentleman in a Nissan, what is that, Qashqai. We're both doing 41 miles an hour indicated. Now I'm down to 38. So what I'm doing is I'm just keeping up with the traffic.
In 200 yards, speed camera.
And for the right reasons, because I don't want a speeding ticket. So we're 1.6 miles into the experiment now. It is warm. I think 3 miles is a good indicator. We can extrapolate the data here, and at the bottom I'll tell you exactly how, in fact Sharon can do the calculations when we get to the end of the 3 miles, what that would equate to on a full charge. Coming up to the 2 mile mark now. the economy is improving, and you would expect it to, because as the journey evens out, as the amount of times I've accelerated is offset by the amount of long driving, the length of, I'm coming up to some traffic lights, I've got to stop again, so then I will have to accelerate from those traffic lights. What I'm saying is that right now, at 2.1 miles, we are now getting 2.3 miles per kilowatt. Driving normally, offering no consideration to economy driving. I'm looking at the road, I'm gabbing away, super waffling. I've come out of retirement to do this waffling today. I hope you're appreciating this.
Oh yeah, we all are.
More traffic lights. So I've got to stop again, and we will of course need to accelerate once we start again. This is the ultimate experiment, and our comfort has no bearing in this right now. It's getting too toasty. How are you kids? Are you toasty in the back?
Yes.
Good, good, good. Right, 2.5 miles per kilowatt. Now, I will tell you now from our experiences in the winter that our average economy in the winter in this e-NV200 40 kilowatt version of this van is exactly 2.5 miles per kilowatt. Sometimes we get less, sometimes we get closer to 2, and the reason for that is because in the winter I have to go park early to go get the kids. I sit in a car park, perhaps some days for 30 minutes, whereby I'm running the heater to stay warm. I'm not going to sit there and shiver. Why would I? Why would I? Right, we're now down to 2.4 because we've sat at the lights with the heating on. If the car's not moving and the heat's on, that is going to drop. 2.3 miles now. Economy 2.4 miles per kilowatt.
Tension is building.
There is no tension. This is just experimentation to show people once and for all on Twitter, on Facebook, the reality of driving this car. I'm doing 36 miles an hour. The engine, the motor isn't rearing and racing away. I'm not screwing the proverbial balls off this vehicle. I'm driving it normally. He was wheel screeching. I'm behind an old banger of a Fiesta. You can't see it. Heat is on. It's uncomfortable. 2.7 miles. We stopped at some more lights, and the economy right now is 2.4 miles per kilowatt. Exactly what we get in the winter. I sounded a bit irritated then, didn't I?
You did.
Like people on the internet are somehow winding me up, thinking they can get 4 miles per kilowatt at all times, in all circumstances. It is not possible. Right, oh gosh, he is billowing out some fumes, is that one? I need to recycle it. Go on, over to Sharon.
No, I'm asking you, when I do my calculations, I'm doing it times 38.
Yes, indeed, 38, because we believe it's a 40 kilowatt battery, but we believe that 38 kilowatts of that 40 is pretty much usable. There will be a reserve of that battery by the manufacturers to ensure that you do not knacker the battery, that you are never, it's just the way it is. It's like your mobile phone. Right, I'm going to stop in a minute. 3 miles exactly. Coming down here, off a side street. Oh, I'm a little bit warm. Are you warm, kids?
Yeah.
Good. Right, listen, like, this is boring. We're coming up to 9 minutes, 10 minutes. This is going to be the world's longest video. But Sharon, pass me the camera, please. Hopefully people can see that. It is, we've done 3.1 miles, slightly over the 3 that I was aiming for, but I couldn't stop. 2.5 miles per kilowatt. Sharon, what is that then?
95.
Right, so there we go. So that's 95 miles, urban, economy off, driving normally. I've not been wheel spinning, I've not been overtaking cars. I've stuck to 30 miles an hour at 40 where it's 40, and that is exactly what we're going to get. 95 miles per fully charged battery, heat on in the winter. Right, that part's
Turn
over.
the heat off now, then.
Now on to the next experiment. Right, experiment number 2. I've just reset all the computer's information on the car. We are absolutely sweltered. It's so hot in here because we've just had the heat on. But anyway, next experiment. The next experiment is driving carefully, exactly again for 3 miles, this time with air conditioning on. So aircon is coming on now. The kids will be most delighted with that. Air conditioning uses a lot less electricity than the heating. Heating can use anything from 4 kilowatts down to 2.5 kilowatts. Aircon on the other hand can use, I don't know, 800 watts and it can drop to 200, 300 watts and still keep the car cool. Right now we are desperate for this coolness because we are hot. So back into the flow of the traffic. See, I'm always mindful on these videos on YouTube to try and keep things to the point, succinct, but there's a time and a place for that. Excuse me. And right now, this is the time and the place to show people what economy you can get under different circumstances. Right, back onto the main road here. 33 miles an hour indicated, that's 30 miles an hour in the real world. Aircon cooling us off. I'll give you an update. I mean, I could have fixed a camera to here, but because of the reflection of the sun off the angled perspex on the screen there, it's very difficult to be able to see that without getting the sun glaring off it. But right now, just giving you an update, it's 2.1 miles per kilowatt I'm driving normally, air conditioning on. So in the last experiment we got 2.5 miles per kilowatt. I expect this one to come out at around 3.5, but we'll see. Let's not try to second guess things. Going around a bend at 23 miles per hour, indicating to go down the next street. You'll not hear any wheel screeching. I'm not handbrake turning it round the corners, just driving at what the average normal speed is for your average around town driver. It's gone up now as the economy, 3.2 miles per kilowatt. And we are approaching just the 1 mile mark now. Got to get out onto the roundabout, cars coming. Got to accelerate a little bit just to get safely onto the roundabout there. This is just normal city driving, nothing complicated. I'm not doing anything out of the ordinary.
Still nobody on that charger?
No. Just passing a rapid charger there at a petrol station. Never seen anybody on it. Expensive.
What make is it?
No idea. I'm concentrating on driving today.
Goody two shoes.
Yeah. 31 miles an hour in a 30. Traffic in front of us. It's a Sunday, but it's no longer the 80s. Always busy. Just approaching the halfway mark now, 1.5 miles. We've just clicked onto economy, 3.5 miles per kilowatt. Exactly what I said. That is our average every week in the warmer months. Week in, week out, 3.5 miles per kilowatt.
Do you want me to video the road a little bit so it's not just you?
Go on then.
In 200 yards, speed camera.
Just want to say that I have no points on my license. I'm not saying I've never had points. Just passing a speed camera. This is why I'm saying this. But what I'm saying is, I'm not some maniac that's
In 50 yards,
flooring
speed
this
camera.
car every day of the week to get what people think is a poor economy. I'm not. I'm just driving it normally. Right now we don't have a lot of weight in the cam. Most of the weight is in the two front seats, and obviously we've just got two small children in the back. But weight will make a difference if you are loaded up for a summer holiday and you've got 7 passengers in and luggage. You will get less miles per kilowatt. We're doing pretty good at the minute. I think, you see what happens is if there's a lot of traffic and you're going below the speed limit, which right now we are, then you are going to get more miles per kilowatt. 2.1 miles, and we are at 3.8 miles per kilowatt. Pretty good going. What I'm saying is, if you've got a free run at it and there's no traffic, the slower you go, speed is the factor here. The slower you're going and you're just trundling along, you are getting those miles in, but the car's not using a lot of energy. It's using less energy to do that. So we've now stopped, and believe it or not, we are at 4 miles per kilowatt.
And how many miles have we done?
2.3. So we're not going to try and fiddle this. We're not going to try and say, right, well, he said 3.5 miles at the beginning, let's try and match it to 3. Sounded like Jimmy Savile then, didn't I?
And a bit like Zippy.
Zippy. So no, whatever it is, I will put this on the video, and this will be the official experiment result. 2.4 miles now. Aircon on, eco off. There are other factors as well. Now, we're not going to overcomplicate this because we're going to have so many different categories, but the e-NV200 has D mode and it has B mode. B mode, it's a stronger regen on the braking system, but let's not complicate things. 2.6 miles, 3.9 miles to the kilowatts.
But what are you in, D or B?
I've just flipped over to D, but up to now we've been in B the entire time. But around town, oftentimes it's even more economical to have it in D and just to drift to the next set of lights rather than B dragging your speed down. Right, 2.8 miles and 2.9 miles. I'm not sure if I'm going to stop on this road, so I might have to take a photograph on the move unless we stop at these lights. Right, 3 miles now. Passes the camera, please, Sharon. 3 miles. I don't want anybody saying I'm fiddling this. I'm not sure I got that because it's taken out of distance. In fact, we're going to some lights now. 3.1 miles. We're stopping. This is great. They want a great place to stop. 3.9 miles per kilowatt. Right, where do we stop? Where are the actual lights?
Just go behind that. I don't know. There.
Some odd road work, so we've got a series of lights here. So there we go. Aircon on, eco off, normal driving. 3.9 miles per kilowatt. Sharon's going to work that out now. We'll put that at the bottom before we get on to the next. 148 miles around town. Not quite the 170 odd that Nissan quote, is it? Anyway, regardless, let's not be silly. Next experiment. Let's stop the video.
Reset your camera.
Right, so now it's time to drive. Like driving Miss Daisy. I'm going to be driving so carefully that I cannot think of anything else other than the economical driving that my foot is having to do. So all the cars in front are speeding off now. You can't see them. They're all well ahead of me, and the cars behind me are getting most annoyed with me. This is why I don't like driving like this. 22, 24 miles an hour. People think that we've got a problem with the car. We've not. We're just trying to prove that we can get more miles. It is, what's the speed limit now? 30 miles an hour?
Yeah.
So I'll stick to 33. Yes, you can. You can push this car or any EV and get more miles per kilowatt. But the reality for me is that this is hard work. Some people say it's not hard work. It is for me. We're all different.
Up to 40.
Up to 40 now. Cars behind me are getting a little bit. They can get past if they need to. There are other things that you can do to improve your range. I mean, you could wear less clothes perhaps. You could, sorry, a bit facetious, you could, right now I'm going down a little incline. We live in Hull, it's very flat, but we're on a bridge, we're going down the bridge now. I could put it into neutral and we would grab some miles without using any power. But again, I don't have the time and concentration on urban routes around town driving to be doing that. But I am being very careful with my foot. We are in eco. Eco restricts the power to the motor, so in effect it forces you to drive more slowly, and you don't have the same amount of acceleration at all. We are now coming up to the first mile of driving, and it's just flipped over to 4.5 miles per kilowatt. I expect to get more than that, but we'll see. Many factors involved in what that figure comes out at. All the cars ahead are all zooming off at crazy speeds, 30, 40 miles an hour perhaps, and oh well, I've got to slow down because the traffic's stopping there. .2 miles per kilowatt. Incredible. Lots of the people that are asking me on Twitter are asking for a specific reason that I'm not going to get into. But if those chaps in their profession are able to drive economically, if they're able to put all other considerations aside and only gently caress that accelerator pedal and only think about that, then fair play to them. Fair play to them. We worked out yesterday what the difference is between us getting, say, 3.5 miles per kilowatt and getting 4 or 4.5 even. And over the year, yes, it affects your mileage, it does affect your mileage, but over the year, the cost savings for us is on our electricity from home is absolutely negligible. You know, if you're saving 40 quid over the year, on our rough calculations in our head yesterday, it's not worth the hassle. Right now, 4.5 miles per kilowatt, that is what people tend to quote as being the holy grail of the e-NV200. That is what some people consider the norm in this car. I don't. It's possible because I'm proving it right now. It is possible. I've slowly accelerated to 40. I'm at 39. I'm almost at 40. 4.3 miles per kilowatt, and I'm going to come off this road now because otherwise I would be on a national speed limit road, and for the purposes of this video I don't want to do that because that would skew things horribly. Roundabout coming up, braking. 4.3 miles per kilowatt, eco on, air conditioning on. There's a van about to crash into me on the roundabout. See, this is where I think this is dangerous. You get some fool in an old Transit flying around the roundabout like that, and with eco off, I'd put my foot down, I'd move out of his way. Yeah, it is what it is. If you are spending your time in a very, very busy city, right now it's Sunday, like I say, it is still relatively busy here, but if you're sitting in a place where there's constant traffic, where you are moving at a snail's pace, I saw them, Sharon, it's okay, they have to wait for me. You are driving at a snail's pace, then your economy will improve. But this is just your average UK city, average amounts of traffic. 1 point, and I'm coming up to 2 miles now, 4.6 miles per kilowatt. Yes, this video is not going to attract the large numbers that Sharon's videos attract.
Oh yes, of course.
But this isn't about who's watched what. This is about giving the people that need the data, need the real world information. I'm doing 31 miles an hour. Those people that need it from somebody who's doing it daily. Right, 2.3 miles now, 4.5 miles per kilowatt, 32 miles an hour indicated speed. Being very careful. Eco on. The regen on the roundabout. Very, very light foot on it. Excuse me, I'm burping a lot, yeah. Very light footwork. It's gone up to 4.7 miles per kilowatt. We probably live in one of the flattest cities in the country. But right now I'm going up a flyover, so obviously we're going upwards. We will use more energy going up than we will regain on the other side of this flyover. 4.3 miles, it's just dropped because we're uphill. Foot off the accelerator, let it regen. 2.9 miles. I'm going to turn off here. This next turning. 3 miles. 3 miles, 4.3 miles per kilowatt. Sharon's going to do the calculations. My very own Carol Vorderman. Wouldn't swap her.
Who, Carol for me? What's the,
Right, as a warning lights on because we are on double yellows.
What did you say?
Right, 4.4. I need the camera, please. Go on then, Sharon, get calculating.
167.2.
Right, well, whilst my brain cogitates on that figure, right, I'm trying to take a photo. See, I'm not sure whether I'll show it, but we have done 3.1 miles and we have got 4.4 miles per kilowatt. And Sharon tells me that's 167 miles.
What
So
did you say? Say again the number. 4 point.
Oh, Carol, where are you? 4.4 miles per kilowatt. So times that by 38.
Yep.
So yeah, 167. We'll put all this at the bottom. 167 miles there from for a fully charged battery, driving economically with air conditioning on. Yes, sure, you could turn the aircon off, and my guess in my head, my guess would tell you that you would probably get 170 miles from the battery. Right, so just to end this video, we have just done careful driving with the air conditioning on, and there's the result at the bottom. We've just been having a bit of a tit-to-tit, a bit of a waffle, because we can't remember what we've done in the last 10 minutes. But anyway, so there we go. Yes, you can achieve better ranges around town driving carefully with the eco on, but that choice is yours. We choose not to do that because I don't think it's really viable day in, day out. It would drive me absolutely mad. But if you can do that, that option is there for you. But next, we will be showing you how to drive carefully with the heat on. That's the next experiment.
Awesome.
Right, another experiment now. This time it's heat on. Oh boy, more heat.
And careful.
Heat on and careful. So I'm driving
Be
very
careful.
careful. I'm going to let that old pensioner out in front of me because even pensioners don't want to be sitting behind us doing these sort of speeds. So we are in a 30. We're just increasing up to 30 now. 16, 18 miles per hour, coming up to a junction. So yes, heat on, we have eco on, which restricts the acceleration. If you know what eco does, a bit boring to tell you the same thing again, but it's what it is. At a junction, pulling out of the junction very slowly, which I find dangerous, especially if you're pulling out into a line of traffic. But if you do put your foot down to get that acceleration, to pull out into that traffic, you will drop your economy without question. Don't believe anybody who says anything else, because it's not the truth. The truth is, I'm sorry I'm messing with this camera, just trying to make sure it's not irritating, more irritating than my voice, and more irritating than anything. I need not just half of Sharon's head. Right, we're in a 14, I'm doing 32. 33.
You've got half of your head again.
Down
That's
to
because Mummy
30.
needs to move across. Right, down to 30 now, so I'm dropping down to 30. Right now, at half a mile, we are achieving 2.3 miles per kilowatt. This is with heat on. That will improve somewhat because we have eco on. Better than the previous one where we just drove normally with heat, which I think got us, was it 2.5? I can't remember. We really should have wrote these things down. We'll put it at the bottom. At the end of this video, if you manage to get through this, this is going to be quite a... I might even split this into 2 different videos. No, what? Let's keep it all the
You
same.
could have 2 videos, and like the second one could be like it could end on a cliffhanger.
No, we don't need a cliffhanger.
It could be really exciting.
We'll just bore people with it. It'll be on for about an hour.
And then the conclusion could be about as exciting as the end of Game of Thrones.
Are you going to skip this bit out?
No, we're keeping this in, Seth, because I want to keep this just so that no one knows that
recycle on because there's loads of it.
that we're not tinkering with anything. We're not trying to fiddle the figures here. I am driving very carefully. My foot is very gradually increasing the acceleration. Nope, this flyover now. Average economy, we are breathing in somebody else's diesel fumes. It's now 3.2 miles per kilowatt with eek, just some lunatic at the side of the road there, caring the community. So 3.2 miles per kilowatt with heat on at 1 mile exactly. Maybe you should do some video, Sharon, to add to this.
To add to the excitement.
Add to the excitement. So it is possible to get a reasonable miles per kilowatt, even in the winter. Even with the heat on, we are pulling in 3.5 miles per kilowatt. And stopping again. I feel uncomfortably warm. Maybe I should have taken my jacket off. We've got an old banger of a white van in front of us, and he is accelerating away from us. This is how slow we are going.
There's red sails with your Ingenie charger.
Yeah, let's not complicate things for people. But yes, indeed, there is an Ingenie charger just to the left of us at Red Sails Pub and Marston's Pub. If you are using this van for business purposes and you've got a Marston's Pub near you, very handy to get a charge and a drink and a sandwich. Thanks for talking over me, Seth. Apologies for that.
What happened? Anything?
Don't mind, I'm videoing the road, Seth.
Right, we're now approaching, I think, is this 40 on here, Sharon? Can you remember? Yeah, it's 40.
It's 40 for this bit, yeah.
Right, so we're approaching what in effect is a dual carriageway. Actually, it's 50.
This bit, then it
But
drops
don't
a bit.
worry, we will stick for the purpose of the experiment. The cars behind us are all wanting to get past. Don't blame them at all. We're going to stick at them at 45 now. 1.8 miles, 3.4 miles per kilowatt with heat on. Very uncomfortable. I'm actually doing 41 now, so I don't need to slow for the 40 change of speed limit. Whatever works for you. If it's massively critical to your job that you need the most miles from the battery of the e-NV200, then yes, you could indeed be very gentle on the accelerator, as I am doing right now in the winter with the heat on, eco on, 3.5 miles per kilowatt at the minute. Pretty good, I suppose. I did read somebody saying that you can use preheat on this fan, and we use preheat all the time when the cooler months. It's very useful if you want to get into a warm, toasty car, heated steering wheel, if you've got the
de-ice in the windscreen.
de-ice in the windscreen, no messing. But don't be under any illusion that the heat retention in any vehicle, there is no insulation in the door panels. We are surrounded by glass. Glass has the insulation properties of nothing. Heat just dissipates through glass. Yes, you have the greenhouse effect in the summer, but what I'm saying is that if you warm this car up, turn the heat off, 10 minutes later that heat has gone. So if you think you're going to boost your miles per kilowatt by preheating on whilst you're plugged in the morning, that really is going to have little effect on the course of your economy during the day. Right now, we are now up to 4 miles, proving myself wrong here. But no, this is good. This is all
How
for the...
have you done 4 miles now?
No, let me finish. This is all for the right reasons. I'm doing this to try to prove to people what the economy is on this e-NV200 40 kilowatt. We have done exactly 3 miles and are stopping at some traffic lights. So I'm going to be past the camera and I'm going to tell Sharon now what we're on. And we are
That's
on
changing.
4.1 miles per kilowatt. I'm taking the picture. And now the heat can go off because I am absolutely boiled.
4.1 times 38, 155.8.
So there you go. That's around town driving in a flat city with average amount of traffic, stopping for traffic lights and what have you. And in eco, driving very, very carefully, we have achieved what would be the equivalent of 150 miles 155 miles per full charge. So yeah, that's not bad. That's pretty good going, because in the winter we would driving normally. I'm going to turn the eco off. I don't like having eco on. We would get 2.5 miles per kilowatt. So that is 1.5 miles per kilowatt more. So if your livelihood is dependent upon getting those miles, then yes, you can achieve 4.1 miles per kilowatt with the heating on. Right, that's that experiment over. On to the next one.